Hello everyone! Good day, ma'am and classmates. I'm Gerlie, one of the reporter for today, and my group mates are Iana Gonzalez, Marie Chris E. Reyes, and Christy San Pedro. Our report is all about the human and environmental impact of tourist transport towards sustainable tourist travel, the Week 13 report. So, the international expansion of tourism and the development of transport system to meet this demand have had a range of direct and indirect social, cultural, economics, and physical impact on both host population affected by the operation of tourist transport and destination areas. In the 1970s and 1980s, this led to a growing concern about the impact of tourist travel on the environment, but little attention has been given the experience for tourists whilst in transit, as Pottery and Bailey on 2008-29 arg. Have you ever experienced less than satisfaction transit? Ever sail on rocky seas? Flew on turbulent weather? These are mere questions, yes, but this is also crucial. Data collected from client can make or break innovation of transit. As expressed by Potter and Bailey on 2008-29, transport have multiple variables that makes it visible to external and internal complications. We only have finite understanding between what is accessible to us currently. So this chapter examined the effect and impact of tourist transport from two perspectives: the effect of traveling on the tourist experience and the impact of transport system on the environment. It should be read in conjunction with Chapter 9, which focuses on the issue of climate change and future energy for the transport and tourism sectors. In Chapter 1 and 2, the concept of the service encounter was discussed by using Bittner et al. On 1990, recognizing the dissatisfaction with tourism service and associated with three types of incidents: employee failure to respond adequately to customers' needs, unprompted and unsolicited employee actions, and service delivery failure. This chapter will discuss the effect and impact of two perspectives: the effect of traveling on the tourist experience and the impact of transport system on the environment. Now, let me use the question I've asked earlier as examples. What do you think is the primary cause of those two examples? Yes, external environment effect. This in turn will snowball into several impactful predicaments that the clients will notice. There are several factors as to mediate these issues. One is focus on service delivery failure. Two is details of environmental issue from the transport provides perspective. Three is conclusion for said variables and its durations. So, the human consequences of modern tourist travel. Previous chapters have shown that the tourist travel experience is a complex phenomenon. Social psychologists and marketers are continually trying to understand the relationship between the consumer behavior and tourist travel, tourist degree of satisfaction with travel service, and their propensity to revisit destination in the future. One area that has lacked serious academic research in the tourist feelings and the trauma sometimes associated with international travel. A more detailed discussion of tourist health can be found in clip and page on 1996, page 202b, Wilkes and page 2003 in the terms of foreign travel. So, previous discussion have expressed the complexity of tourist travel experiences as it touches psychological platforms and external factors. There are several studies that will provide ample evidence for These such as Caters and Swarbrooks on 1989, Schiffman and Canucks on 1991, and The Physical Effect of Travel by Goddard, 1991. So, in terms of foreign travel, stress is a feature often overlooked since the tour operators and travel agents frequently extol the virtues of taking a holiday to fulfill a deep psychological needs. Notes that a tourist travel experience offers so many potential avenues of research. The stress associated with international and to a lesser degree domestic travel is the result of various psychological factors that are compounded by the effort of congestions on transport systems. Um, Arts that the stress of travel could be distributed. So it has been expressed through this and several more studies that environmental issues are not the only focus of a well-established travel excursion tours. So here I will list several factors that coincide with said predicament. First is pre-flight anxieties, transmeridian disturbance, airside problems, fears and probias, psychological concerns. So, while in flight, health problems may impose a problem as well. It is a mere fraction of the other variables, since there are already several pre-existing countermeasures for a physical disturbance. For example, the pre-flight security checks, documentations, and even the preemptive measures of overcrowding can be swayed to a more susceptible and manageable space. So, though that does not mean that they can be disregarded, not really, they are only slightly overrated by the more intangible predicaments. Um, to make it a little easier for you to digest the factors I listed a little while ago, I will further expound them in a more manageable manner. So first is pre-flight anxieties. To put it simple, these are attributed to excursion we tend to maneuver from before an individual boards the aircraft. An example that comes to mind would be the first flyers. They tend to get antsy and fidgets a lot pre-flight. These, however, are easily spotted and remedied by our trusty flight personnel. Secondly is airside problem. This can be a little uncomfortable to phantoms, but there is a hierarchy on every aircraft distinctive by the finite space, service, and even sometimes even the absence of information. A little dehumanizing, but this does happen primarily due to prioritizations. Not to discourage you, but be wary of this as well. Thirdly is transmeridian disturbance. If you ever experience what we call jet lag, traveling from one spectrums of the world to another does in fact affect the psyche and physical body of an individual. This can be coordinated into several impacts such as the wake and sleep cycles, wherein an individual have tendencies to have difficulty sleeping or the usual motor sickness. This is mostly due to the human psyche having delusions that coaxes it to think of negative ideas, prompting the brain to extrude the hormones that imbalances it. Thank you.
According to the U.S. Center for Disease Control, or CDC, In Atlanta, it can affect up to 58% of children and 100% of travelers on boats in very rough conditions. But it confirms that research shows that individual susceptibility is poorly understood. Macintosh reviews measures to assist the traveler in overcoming sea, car, and air sickness. However, Gerlie argues that motion sickness is now a rare event in modern passenger transport. True, Gerlie has obviously not experienced some of the challenging weather conditions in which airlines fly. So, sinasabi dito ay sa US Center for Disease Control or CDC, sa Atlanta daw po ay maaaring itong makaapekto hanggang sa 58% sa mga bata and 100% naman sa mga manlalakbay gamit ng boat or bangka sa napakahirap na condition. But it confirms that research shows that individual susceptibility is poorly understood. Example na nga lang po dito ngayon sa ating bansa, marami, kahit alam naman po natin na marami ibang tao na sobra-sobra ang magiging epekto ang sakit na COVID-19 na lumalaganap sa ating bansa ngayon, ay pilit pa rin po nilang ginagawa yung mga bagay na hindi mo na kailangan gawin. Example is yung paglabas na hindi naman kinakailangan. Yung ba pong pagiging makulit ng mga ibang tao na hindi nila maiintindihan na maraming maapektuhan kung hindi nila susundin yung mga patakaran. The next is, according to Chimonas et al. 2008, gastrointestinal or GI disease such as the norovirus can have a major impact on a confined setting such as a cruise ship, reflected in the CDC's vessel sanitation program, which seeks to prevent, detect, and respond to GI outbreaks. So, ayon po kay Chimonas, ang mga sakit sa gastrointestinal or GI tulad ng norovirus is maaaring magkaroon ng malaking epekto tulad sa isang cruise ship na nakalarawan sa vessel sanitation program ng CDC na naglalayong maiwasan or makita at tumugon sa mga outbreak ng GI or gastrointestinal. Yung GI or gastrointestinal po is the tract from the mouth to the anus, which includes all organs of the digestive system in human and other animals. Food taken in through the mouth and waste expelled as feces. And ang mga symptoms po nito is heartburn, bloating, indigestion or dyspepsia, and constipation. So, dito po, ayon kay Neri et al., ang mga yugto or mga episodes ng norovirus ay talagang tumanggi sa board ng cruise ship mula sa 29.2 bawat 100,000 noong 1990 hanggang sa 16.3 bawat 100,000 noong 2000, ngunit tumaas naman sa 25.6 bawat 100,000 noong 2005. Nagdulot daw po ito ng sobrang pag-aalala ng mga professionals sa kalusugan at operator ng cruise ship na may mga regime sa board cruise ship na nakadirect towards prevention, surveillance, and response. Dito po pinapakita niya yung problema na nare-range lang yung pag-travel ng mga matatanda dahil alam po natin na habang tumatagal, mas tumataas ang nature tourism market in development country. At pinakita rin dito na hindi umuusad at pagiging confused ng mga matatanda sa kanilang travel journey. Ayon kay Viant, habang tumatagal, mas tumataas po yung tourism markets developed countries. At ayon din naman kay Smith and Jenner, ang elderly travel and their service experience ay ina-assume nila na mas maganda at significant ang travel ng elderly. At ayon ulit kay Macintosh, ang transport system ay ina-ensure na magbibigay yung needs ng isang travel. So, dito po, in-examine ni Abiratna ang scope ng mga issue para sa mga airlines at paliparan. The first is contact with airlines reservation and ticket sales agent who can advise traveler, specific fares, charges, and related travel conditions since some airlines require elderly and disabled passengers to be escorted. Dito sinasabi nga na dapat na or kailangan may escort yung mga matatanda or mga disabled persons habang nasa travel sila hanggang sa makalanding yung airline. The next is accessibility of aircraft via wheelchair or air bridges for incapacitated travelers. So, since yung mga airline is bawal talaga mag-accept ng mga naka-wheelchairs na passenger, hindi talaga nila pinapayagan. Kaya nga meron mga escort sa mga aeroplano para sila yung mga mag-a-assist sa mga passenger na matatanda or airlines. Example nga dun yung mga stewardess. The next is movement facilities and services on board aircraft to ensure that the passenger's carriage can be undertaken in a way that provides a safe and comfortable environment. Dito po dapat ini-ensure ng mga nasa aeroplano or mga stewardess, ini-ensure dapat nila yung mga comfortable environment and safety ng mga pasahero nila.
So hello everyone, I'm Marie Chris Reyes and this is the continuation of Iana's report. So first, the threat of terrorism of hijack is also an underlying worry for some travelers. So ito yung mga terrorism of hijack daw ay isang batayan din ng mga terorismo bilang pag-alala para sa mga travelers. Second, travelers' anxiety appears to follow a pattern being heightened after an incident and then subsiding in response to the ensuring public relation exercises by airlines to reassure passenger of the increased security measure that are in place. So, ito naman yung mga takot pumunta sa ibang lugar na like bago sila doon, wala silang ka-idea kung ano yung meron sa lugar na yon. The third is psychological concern, such as loneliness and a sense of isolation can also contribute to the travelers' feelings of anonymity during their journey, particularly if traveling alone. So, psychological concern, ito naman yung mga karaniwang issues sa family problems, like depression, their anxiety, substance, violence, and many more. Karamihan, nangyayari ito sa mga babae, lalo na kapag nag-iisa lang sila. Wala silang makausap about their problems. At doon, parang hindi nila mabuhos kung ano yung nasa loob nila. And next is the experience is often high-end on a busy jet carrying approximately 450 passengers, where an individual feels a sense of anonymity and of being confined in a strange environment 10,000 f up in the sky. Some of the fears of flying were related to first, fears of heights. So, yung fear of heights naman daw, ito naman po yung mga excessive fear that manifest yung anxiety ng isang tao. Yung mga nakakaranas ito ay magkakaroon ng heart attack, tracking up na takot, something like that. So, the second one is being in enclosed spaces. So, ito naman yung mga irrational fear of confined spaces. Minsan may mga taong nakakaranas ng mild anxiety kapag confined spaces. Yung iba naman nagkakaroon ng panic attack. At ang tawag nila doon ay claustrophobia. So, next is crowding on board. So, ito yung mga hindi mo ma-explain kung ano ba yung takot mo. You might even be at the point of completely avoiding crowd. So, hindi mo masabi kung ano yung nararamdaman mo. Hindi mo masabi kung ano yung nasa dibdib mo. So, next is the quality of recirculated air on board aircraft concern over noises on the board aircraft during their flight. So it is a cabin air that controls the aircraft 20 to 30 times per hour, and it is what you call recirculation. So last is turbulence and general lack of control. So airplane toys violently, ito naman yung mga imposible daw na makontrol dahil nagkakos ito ng structural damage sa aircraft. So next, according to Gerlie 1195, the worst pterophobia sufferers confess their debilitating fear, but as many as 80% of regular flyers have apprehensions when boarding an aircraft. So, yun nga, sabi ng Gerlie that 80% of every passenger suffers. So, ito yung pag-confess nila that they are scared in heights. Minsan, ito yung nagkakos ng panic na nakaka-apekto naman sa ating mga pasahero. They always thinking kung ano yung mangyayari sa kanila, kung ano yung mga possible na mangyayari sila while in these accidents. And then, they're always thinking kung paano mag-swim, if ever magkaroon na emergency or accidents or kahit anong form or klase ng transportation, at least alam nila kung ano yung gagawin nila. Next, in-flight health. So, ito naman yung mga related sa problems na nakaka-apekto sa mga passengers on long-haul flights. Reduced air pressures in the flight cabin and dehydration may occur due to the circulation of dry air within the aircraft. As shown, meron ding growing concern among scientists and governments over the quality of cabin air. So next, Gerlie 1995, 1648 also lists a number of measures for passengers to consider to ensure a comfortable flight. So first, the air pressures. So ito yung mga mild flu na nagkakos sa extreme pressures that may be relieved by pinching the nose and swallowing, sucking a sweet, or in extreme situation, some airlines carry a decongestant which may be inhaled. So, syempre mahirap din. So, next is yung shoes. Ito naman yung mga comfortable footwear and regular exercises sa aircraft. So, clothing. Ito naman yung mga layers of loose, roomy clothing are ideal for flying and can be adjusted depending on the changing of cabin temperature. So, next yung skin dehydration. Frequent application of moisturizing cream is highly recommended. So, para siguro hindi maano yung mga balat nila. And liquids and alcohol. So, dehydration is a major problem on long haul flights as ice can become dry and sore. Consumptions of alcohol exacerbates dehydration, compounded by high altitude flights. Mixing drinks like tea, coffee, non-carbonated water, and fruit juice are recommended by British Airlines Pilot Association to keep body topped up with fluids. So foods is one of the important. Eating with moderation, especially sa business class at sa first class. Ito yung mga highly recommended to avoid indigestion and feeling being bloated. Lastly, gently body movements can assist in avoiding the effects of tiredness in a long haul flights as can walking up and down.
Hi guys, good afternoon. I'm Christy DG San Pedro. So this is my part. In the context of the USA, produced a set of detailed guidelines to facilitate further the passage of elderly and disabled persons. These guidelines highlight a range of policy issues for airports and airlines and the practical measures needed to facilitate the further growth in travel by disabled and elderly tourists. With these guidelines in mind, it is pertinent to consider the measures transport operators can take to reduce the stressful experience associated with different aspect tourist travel. So ayun guys, parang sinasabi dito na ayon sa konsepto ng USA, sinisulong ang mga gabay para sa mga facilitate ng passenger of elderly and disabled persons. At parang sinasabi din dito na ito ay pumapatungkol sa pagsasagawa ng paraan upang makatulong sa mga taong nakatatanda at di makagalaw sa sarili nilang kakayahan. So first is provision of special assistance at airports for senior travelers and disabled tourists to reduce the stress for group organizers taking large parties of tourists abroad, and the provision of a move customer-focused approach among UK rail companies to help such travelers. So, meaning guys, ang provision po ng special na assistance sa airport para sa mga nakatatanda at disabled na turista ay upang makabawas sa stress sa grupo ng mga kinauukulan o nakatataas sa mga turista pa abroad. At sabi din dito ay mas nakatuon sa mga customer ang pag-approach sa UK rail companies. So next is development of peer of traveling programmers for different modes of transport, especially air travel. So sabi naman po dito is ang pagpapalago ng peer of traveling programmers para sa iba't ibang paraan ng transport, lalo na sa air travel. Next is planners and designers can improve the structure and appearance terminal buildings so that they are built with the customer in mind, reducing the stress of being in an unfamiliar environment. So, sabi naman dito, ang mga planners and designers ay maaring napapaganda ang itsura ng buildings, ng mga terminal upang makabawas sa stress, ganyan. At di makilalang istruktura sa mga customer. Yun. So next is airline staff should inform travelers prior to take off about the aircraft sounds they will hear. So meaning the airline staff is dapat nabigyan ng kaalaman ang travelers na i-take off ang about sa aircraft sounds na nadidinig nila. Ayun. Next is provisions of accurate in-flight advice for travelers such as KLM Royal Dutch Airlines Comfort in-flight brochure. So, ayun. So, dito naman, parang sinasabi na ang provision ng tamang in-flight advices para sa mga biyahero. So, next is replacement of anxiety-provoking intensive security screening with low-profile security checks at ports of departure to reduce the potential for passenger stress. So, dito naman sa second to the last is sinasabi na ang mag-replace ng pagbabago sa anxiety-provoking intensive security screening ay upang mabawasan ang stress pagdating sa mga low-profile security check sa mga ports. Yun. Next is in extreme cases, general practitioners may prescribe mild medication to relax the travel in flight, but this is often a last resort. And last but not the least is meaning sa mga malalang kalagayan daw, general practitioners ay maaaring magpa-prescribe ng mild medication, maparelax o mapakalma ang biyahero sa oras ng flight. So, ayun guys, lahat ng nabanggit ko ay parang pumapatungkol sa focus para sa mga turista kung paano sila hindi mai-stress, ganyan. Or kung paano mapapakalma ang sarili nila in a way na komportable ang mga sitwasyon ng ating mga turista sa iba't ibang aspeto. So, yeah, I think that's it for my part. Thank you for listening. Keep safe always, guys. God bless.